Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Roland Roberts, and I'd like to welcome you to today's empowerment session titled 10 Balancing Insights on Work and Life with guest Dr. Amy Freeman. Dr. Freeman holds a Master of Science degree in engineering and a Ph.D. in workforce education. And this unusual combination has actually provided her with a professional skill set that includes both the technical and the social sciences, which she's going to combine today. She's also a working parent who understands the challenges of interweaving family obligations with professional expectations, and we all know how stressful that can be. Dr. Freeman has spoken in numerous business and professional venues, as well as schools, churches, and government institutions. She speaks about lowering the stress level of working professionals, work-life balance, women in non-traditional fields, student empowerment, and diversity in science and engineering professions. She is the author of the book Stress Less, 10 Balancing Insights on Work and Life. And we're excited to have her with us today. So please join Ginga Baby's Vice President of Empowerment, Drea Bauer, as she and Dr. Freeman discuss the 10 Balancing Insights on Work and Life. Drea?
Thank you so much, Roland. Amy, we are so excited to have you here today. Stress affects everyone, and it can be detrimental to your health, to your home environment, to your work environment. So I'm so excited that you're going to share some tips for us. So tell us about your book. What's the name of it?
The book is Stress Less, 10 Balancing Insights on Work and Life. And I wrote it because we have so many books about multitasking and doing more. And so I know when I work, it's just a lot. So for someone to ask you to do more is quite it's a lot. And so this book is about doing less and being comfortable with less and finding peace and finding balance in your life. And that's a unique solution for everyone.
Wow, that's great. I have heard it said that if you multitask, you tend to do each task to the less of your full potential, while if you focus on one, you do a much better job at it. So, yeah, I'll be interested to hear more about that. So who is your intended audience, and why should they read it?
My intended audience, I tend to think of working women because I'm a working woman and I've raised 2 kids, and that's a lot of work right there. If you do nothing else, that's energy. But I find just any people who do what I say is just too much. People who do lots and lots of things and are really, I'll even say, irritated by the working culture that we have in the United States, where there's no room for rest and there's no room to even say that you're stressed out. So folks who just juggle a lot of balls and sometimes just need helpful tips that would make things easier.
I think you're so right, Amy. It's become such a culture of, oh, I only sleep 3 or 4 hours a night and I get so much done instead of, and rest I think also is so important to healing the body, so I totally agree with you. So how is your book formatted, and how can a user read it to apply it to their lives?
Well, one of the things I find that my Ph.D. is in workforce education. So one of the things I know is that people learn differently. Everyone has a different way of learning. And so some people, it's like if you want to go to the grocery store, some people say, give me a map. And some people say, well, can you tell me where it is? And someone else, how about get in the car and show me the grocery store? And there's no right or wrong. It's just who you are and what works best for you. So the book, I tried to create a simple book that would help people who are busy. The first thing I know about being busy is you don't have time to read a book about being busy. And so the book is deliberately short. It's under 100 pages, and that's intentional. And it's devised in a way that you can choose any of the 10 tips or topics or insights that apply to you. So one of the things I look at, one of them is ask for help. I don't want to ask for help. I don't have time. I'm not good. So how about I go to rest? Okay, I like that. You can choose the topic that you feel resonates with you. The next piece, and I'll show it on the screen, is we'll just go through 3 or 4 pieces of the book, and I can demonstrate some other pieces that I have in there that can show you how the book is used. And you should see the cover of the book. And okay, is the cover there?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Very good. Okay, so there's the cover, and it's a beach scene. The beach is restful to me, and so so if you're in a store or something, you recognize it. In each chapter, we cover a topic. So this one is schedule yourself in first. That's one of the topics. And so if you just need the facts, tell me what you're talking about, that is discussed with little highlighted areas that, like in this case, make time for you each day. Okay. Another way that same topic is discussed is if you need the worksheet. There are many people who really need, I like to do it. I like to work through specific ways to learn that thing. And so at the end of each chapter is a little worksheet if you want to work through it. Each of the worksheets can be downloaded from my website, amyfreeman.net, and you go to click on the rest stop. And if you want to share with friends or download or get it, in a reproducible size, or in a file filling site. You can do it on computer if you choose also.
That's great. I love that it's interactive. That's fantastic.
Very much. And then the other one is some people like to learn it in a story. How do you apply this to your life? So I take pieces from my blog, and my blog is called Another Perspective, and I talk about, in this case, is take good care of your body and your health. And it just tells you a story about essentially my thoughts on how you would apply the concepts of taking good care of yourself and doing what the doctor said, whether you want to or not, and the long-term effects of that. And for people who are auditory learners, I know I have relatives who just tell me, if you're one of those people that needs to just be told, you can click on the QR code in the first 6 chapters, and you'll see a presentation, me in presentation format, talking about a very specific topic. And so, anyway, that's so with the book, I tried to just devise it in a way. I know for me, I evolved at the time of kind of Louise Hay and some of I call them the purse books, where you can, get a little book and keep it in your purse. But if you're e-reader, it'll do e-reader, or if you're like to read online, you can do that too, or in print is fine. But I tend to be I'm still a purse book girl. You look in your purse and you see the book. You don't pull out every now and then. You're on the bus, you find something. So it's devised where it can be broken up into little bits, or you can read it in an afternoon.
I love that, because it's like different things I read. I can read the same text over again and get a different nuance or something else that will trigger me in a different way to learn something new. So that's fantastic. And I know, too, that sometimes we think we learn one way, we may think we learn from listening, but then when you get it in your body and do it in a physical way, it turns you into something else. So that's fantastic that there's so many different ways that you can learn the information. So what motivated you? Why did you write this book?
One of the things I found is that 2 things. One is that you're programmed to believe that you are. I felt alone. I was stressed out, but when you look around, everyone is fine. They look fine. It looks like you're the only one who's worried, who's nervous, who feels like your head is going to pop. But what I found is that when you talk to other people, they feel just like you. They feel the same. And so it bothered me, and the working culture I work in is one where there is no forum to say that you're unhappy or that you're stressed out. There's no forum to say such a thing. And you're, in fact, is looked down upon to say, this job is killing me. You cannot say that. So I wanted to just create something that would send a message to people. Number one, you're not alone. No matter how alone you feel, you are not the only person who's experiencing stress, which I believe is at epidemic proportions in our country. And the other thing is it just gives you a place to vent and to think about and to examine the places where you are having issues and to work through some of that.
That's great, because as women, we're such expressive people. I mean, sometimes we just need to say it, not looking for a solution, just literally so we can get that off our chest. So I love that. That's great.
Someone to tell.
You're a doctor. I'm so impressed. Tell me about your background.
Okay. My background is I'm a woman. I began in engineering, and I hold a master's in architectural engineering. My undergraduate degree is also in engineering. And when I evolved, I grew up. I was that girl. And I'm a little older than some people. So when I came along, very few women did engineering. Very few girls wanted a saw for Christmas. And my mother, you're going to cut your hand off. You're going to cut your arm. And to my surprise, it was my dad who surprised me with the saw for Christmas. But I have, there are many firsts in my life. I was the first woman to graduate with my degree in my undergraduate school. I've just done many, many firsts. And the way things have happened, sometimes your career path goes very differently than you planned. And what has happened overall, essentially, I wound up getting my Ph.D. in workforce education because my career took a path of more engineering education, or educating the next generation about not just engineering, but how to finish college and how to go forward and how to goal set and how to get positive things for your life. And so I think for me, I'm a combination of the technical and the social and educational. And so I think that mix of that mixed background really, I think, gives me a different view than many folks who are all of one side or all of the other. And I'm convinced that both sides could benefit so much by learning from what the other side has to offer. So,
well, I'm certain in facing all these challenges and reaching all these new goals that have set a precedent, you've had many challenges. So you may give some of those in your book. Can you give us some of those challenges that you faced and how you've worked through that stress?
Oh, well, one of the challenges, which is a common challenge, I find, for me, I do a lot of business travel, for example, and I'm in a good place. I'm married to a wonderful man, and I have 2 children. And one of the things I found is that business travel was a part of the job that I had and have had for many years. And so I'd have to leave and go away and travel. You're stressed out. And then with your children, you have to leave them, and that's always hard, especially when they're little. Where, Mommy, why don't you? You know, all the things, and you can't just bust up crying in front of you. Oh, no, honey, it's going to be fine. But then when you get on the airplane, you're wiping your eyes and you're feeling bad. And one of the things that I found was one of the 10 things is just, it's important to just decide who is important in your life. Really take good care of the relationships that matter most. So someone had said to me at one point, one of my challenges in terms of being a parent is I really want my children to know that I'm present, I care, and I don't value my work more than I value them. And that's very hard because I work a lot. And so one of the things that I, in that particular situation that I decided to do was I would deliberately not take a business trip. And it was, my job was like, well, you need to, and you didn't do this. And so a colleague said, well, your husband takes care of your children, so you don't have to. Like some women, you don't have a choice, but why would you go home? I said, because if I don't have a relationship with my children. When I come home, they're laughing at the joke about the pizza and the rabbit and something, and I wasn't there. I find if I want this, I must make time and put it there, and often perhaps at expense of other things. And that's one small example, but an ongoing challenge is how do you carefully weigh and value your family with your career. I love my career. I value it. I've worked very hard to get where I am. So to balance the two, I think is a challenge. And you're explaining always to both sides and to yourself why something's important. And the answer is, I think every person must find a solution unique to them. Everyone can't do what I did, and I can't do what some people do. But for me, occasionally, I would deliberately not go and make my kids know, I'm not going to go on that because I want to stay with you, just to let them know you're important to me, and it just to send a message. So, but there are a number of things like that I've done. I'm pleased to say my children are just both adults now, and they still like me, and I'm in a good place. So. Yeah.
Well, as women, I think you're right. I think most women consider their children a priority in their life. I think it was Stephen Covey in the 7 Effective Habits of Highly Effective People that said, put first things first. And I think, I think our families do come first, and we want to have a strong work life as well. But I think you're right. You have to prioritize. So, what are some common responses you get to the book and about your presentations on how to balance these things?
One of the most striking responses that I received, I made a presentation to a group of corporate women celebrating Women's History Month, and I do an exercise. And if it's online, and if you go to amyfreeman.net at the rest stop, it'll have all the little different excerpts from some of the presentations I've given. But I do an exercise where I encourage people to say no. We're just so programmed to say yes, especially women. Say yes, yes, yes to everything. And so they have to say it out loud. Say no, say no, say no. So people are saying no. You have 100 people saying no. And I went through the presentation about making time for yourself. And what I found, to my surprise, after the presentation, 2 women came up to me, and they were older, and they said, you know what? We've worked here for 30 years. And in one particular case, I've worked here 30 years. I've never said no to anyone. Wow. And this week, I'm going to say no. And it doesn't matter what it is. And her friend says, yeah, she's got to say no to something. I'm not going to make coffee. No, she's got to say no. And when you learn how much we've been programmed as women to really acquiesce to everything,
So
that
true.
was an interesting response. Another common response is someone had come to me and said, you're the first presenter that I've ever heard. All the presentations say do more and how you can do more and fit more into a day. Thank you for giving me permission to do less. I do a lot, and it's okay if I don't do more. I'm allowed not to have to conquer the whole world. I can do what is enough. And so
I think you're so right. We tend to be pleasers as women. We want to make everybody
yes.
happy. We want to give everything
Yes.
that they need to make their lives whole, but sometimes we do that at the expense of ourselves and taking care of ourselves. And if we're not taking
Yes.
care of our own needs, we really can't be our best to give to our family and our friends and our workplace. So
Yeah.
would you like to share an excerpt from the book?
Sure, sure. The one that there's so many. I'll do the one that I know I'd put online that people seem to really seem to resonate with others. Sometimes I write things that I like, and then I'm surprised that other people really responded well to something else. And I'll do a piece from the blog, and it's called One You, and it's from the chapter Take Good Care of Your Body and Your Health. And so I'll read. I think it'll take about a minute or a minute and a half to read. So I don't know how long. I don't want to read too long.
That'd be fine.
Okay, but it's called One You. You only get one you. While I like to compare my body to a garden or a car or a well-oiled machine, it's not. The difference is, if I don't take care of my car, I can get another one. If I let my garden go to weeds or I find out the soil's all rocks and salt, I can go garden anywhere else. But my body, this is all I get. It's more like having one car all your life, or only one garden in one place, in the climate that comes with it. There are no new car lots at which to cash in or trade up, no farmer's market to substitute for the tilling and planting you have to do yourself. That's the body. If I knew I would never get another car in my life, I'd be more conscientious about changing the oil. I'd really worry about that, the paint, the first scratch and the first small sign of rust. I wouldn't throw boxes of books on the leather seat just because I think leather is tough. I would finally build a garage. I wouldn't so readily hand the keys to just any old body. I would get upgrades when I needed them so that the car would keep up with the changing times and road regulations. I would give my car a name, and I would treat it like a living thing because I would understand that my care for it dictates other opportunities in my life. If I knew that I only had one garden to provide food or beauty in my life, I would finally fix the fence to keep the rabbits out. I would fertilize the soil more often. I would plant flowers as well as food to feed both body and soul. I would weed routinely rather than waiting until they've taken over the world. I would learn more about gardening and be more thoughtful about what I planted. I would learn what grows best in the soil and climate that I have. I would be more cognizant of the fact that low maintenance doesn't mean no maintenance. I would spray the apple tree before the bugs got in. I would cultivate its natural beauty. I would deliberately rotate crops to allow certain portions of the soil to rest each year so that the garden didn't grow weak and tired of producing endlessly, smiling until its leafy, fruity, viney face hurt, finishing reports and dragging around the responsibility of feeding the world heavy as rocks. And I'll pause there. General idea. So yeah. So with that particular blog, the goal is just treat your body like the singular only machine you're going to get that it is. And like I said, there's another half to it, but at the end of the day, when I think about the body that I want when I turn, say, 70 or 80, should I be fortunate to live so long, it's directly correlated with what I do now. And I think that's true of peace in your life. It doesn't just show up later. If you aren't cultivating peace now, why do you expect that peace is just going to walk up and tap you on the shoulder? If you're not, all the things that you want to become, I think it's important to begin implementing those things now.
I love where this is going, Amy. It sounds like you're making yourself a priority and taking care of yourself and your needs. Is that the core message? What is the core message of the book?
The core message to me is not only make yourself a priority, but the unique solution for your life lies within you, and take time to find it. And when you find it, honor it, respect it, follow it. And very often it may not agree with everyone else in the whole wide world. We're often convinced to believe everyone except ourselves, and I encourage you to believe yourself. So if you know, I don't care what everybody else says, but if you know that certain things just make you nervous and nuts, and other people, well, no, it's fine, it's good, it makes me nervous and nuts, then it's okay. You don't have to live in the land of nervous and nuts if you know that's who you are. So whoever you are, dare to embrace your whole self. And for most people, that includes peace, that includes love and balance, and trust yourself. When you find the answer to who you are, trust yourself and follow it.
So in kind of an intuitive guidance system is what we're looking for.
I think so. And I you weigh that with good advice from around. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, and other people give really good advice that's going to help me. But at the end of the day, I just feel very often we're encouraged to follow everyone else's solution for the world except our own.
I agree. Sometimes we look outside ourselves for the very thing that is right within us. So
Yes.
Where can we get more information about you and your book?
Well, more information about me and my book can be found at amyfreeman.net, and you can buy the book and the companion DVD, which gives a presentation about the principles of the book. And also it's available on Amazon. It's available at Barnes & Nobles. It's available in print or electronically for your Nook or for your Kindle. And so I tried to make it available in multiple formats. And so if you Google Stress Less Amy Freeman, you'll find it. And if you want print, put print in there. Sometimes the electronic shows up when people, I want the book. So anyway, it's all out there. So
okay, great. And what will you be doing in the future? What can we expect to see coming forward?
My next book, it'll be, I do write poetry, and some of that is also on my website, so I have a little blurb on, poetry really is my first love, but my next book of poetry will be about women in work, and so hopefully within the next year, that'll be available.
I love it because I love the symbolism in your story anyway, and it really gets your mind to wander and think. I was like, oh, I'd be a red car, and I'd get right, and I'd be clean, I'd get washed on a regular basis because I don't tend to wash my car on a regular basis.
Love it. Oh.
One other thing, I know you've traveled extensively, and I'm going to ask you this. What are your
Yes.
observations about working in different cultures? Are they all as stressed as we are here in the United States, or do they find more peace? I know the Italians like to take, a long lunch, and they prioritize differently. So what did you find working in other cultures?
I have found that the United States, as we know, takes less vacation than any other industrialized nation, and I think it's one of the reasons we're stressed out. It just demonstrates we don't value rest. And I think that when I look at women around the world, I still find, in my opinion, very often women work extremely hard all over the world. Not to say that men don't work hard, but women work so hard. One particular image that comes to mind, I know I was in Kenya for different reasons, and the place where I was staying, there were 3 women. They would come near where we were, and there was very tall grass, 3 or 4 feet high. And they'd have machetes, and they'd cut this grass, pile it up high, put it on their backs, and stack it all up and carry it out. And this is every day, every other day. And I asked, you could have a lawnmower go and whack that down, or what's the deal with the grass? And they said, no, we leave the grass because the ladies come and they cut the grass every day to take home to feed a single cow to produce milk for their children. And so when I looked at that, it's just, that's a lot of work, and much of the work that we do very often goes for the to feed and to help and to serve others, be they your children, your family, your colleagues, your community, your church, the place where you work. And I guess for me, I just find, and that comes from just like I said, just as I get older, I think it's important to make sure that there's a little teeny bit of your life carved out for yourself, and serve yourself and treat yourself as well as you treat everyone else.
I so agree with you. This has been fabulous. I've really enjoyed it. I can't wait to check out the site. And tell us one more time again where we can find that website and you.
www.amyfreeman.net. And I encourage you to stress less.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here today.
A pleasure. Thank you so much.